My name is Sidney Chahonyo, and I'm a cancer survivor. I actually celebrated 19 years of being cancer free in November last year. So I was diagnosed with cancer of the post-nasal space at the age of 19. This is about 19 years ago. And I'll start with the story of diagnosis. Initially, I started getting very mild symptoms, very mild headaches, nose bleeding, and flu symptoms, just a normal flu. And for some reason, you take Panadol, you sleep it off, you drink water. You want anything that would really bother you. But as time went by, the symptoms started getting more and more aggressive. And the headaches were, more aggressive. The nose bleeding was more frequent. The flu symptoms were more pronounced. At that time, I just finished high school, and I was about to go to university. In fact, I was processing my visa to go out of the country for further studies. And that's when I started getting the symptoms. Another thing, even with getting those symptoms, I really didn't think anything serious was happening. I just thought it was a normal flu. So, what made me go to the hospital is when I was 7 years old, I got a very bad case of mumps, and they treated me for malaria. And I reacted to the treatment and lost hearing on my left ear. So as the growth was progressing, it was starting to drop my hearing capacity. So my hearing actually started to reduce. And that's what actually became a red flag for me. So I started going to different hospitals, private hospitals. I went to the Aga Khans, the Nairobi hospitals, what have you, all the matters, everywhere I could go. And initially, what they would keep saying is, it's probably a sinus issue. Take these pills, after 15 days, you'll be fine. You go there once, you go there twice, you look for another opinion. Eventually, I started telling them there's something else. It's not just my sinuses. I'm taking these pills, they're not hot. Someone then referred me to an ENT, an ear, nose, and throat specialist. And I sat down with him, and as soon as I told him what my symptoms were, something triggered. And he said, I think I know what it is. You just need to do some tests. So I did my tests, my blood work, my scans. I also did a biopsy, which is where they go in to take a piece of the tissue so that they can look at it under the microscope. And after that is when he sat us down and he told me that I have cancer of the post-nasal space. He then referred me to an oncologist who was actually very positive because luckily for me, it was early stage. Even though it took about 6 months from the time I started getting symptoms to the time I got the correct diagnosis, that was still early in that for that type of cancer. So I remember him telling me I have cancer, and at that point my mind just blacked out. I couldn't remember anything. I couldn't hear anything else he was saying. And I was in the room with my dad at that point. And I saw him balancing tears in his eyes. And that's the first time I'd ever seen my dad looking vulnerable. So for me, it was a matter of, okay, this is a very serious thing. You almost feel like your whole life is over. And I started wondering if my dad is looking at this, how are my five sisters and my mother at home going to take this news? So it took a couple of days breaking the news, calling the doctor, asking more questions, and trying to figure out what the treatment regimen is going to be. But emotionally, it was something that was very, I can't explain it. It was almost like an out of body experience, looking outside as if it was someone else who was going through this. But I had to come to terms with the fact that I had cancer. But for some reason, I never thought of that. I never thought that this cancer is going to kill me because my oncologist was very positive and he told me he had treated many cases like that. And for me, it was caught early, so I had a good chance of surviving. So from there, I went to now start the treatment. The treatment was first I did radiotherapy. I was going to the hospital Monday to Friday. It's almost like going in for an X-ray. It's like a 20-minute procedure. They put you in the machine, they aim the radiation, and they deliver it. So it was an outpatient procedure. After about the third week, because I did it for about 4 months, after about the third week, I started getting side effects. Some of these side effects included pain, especially because of where the radiation was. At some point, it was very hard to swallow because my throat had been affected by the radiation. Even swallowing water was painful. Aside from that, it affected my saliva glands. So up till now, I still have issues like when I'm eating, I have to have a bottle of water next to me so I can help wash down the food. It took away my taste buds, so I couldn't taste the food. Um, then at some point, there was so much pressure on my brain that my body, I wasn't taking anything in. I was throwing up. There was pain. I had no appetite. I had nausea. So you can't taste food. The smell of food makes you feel like throwing up. And for me, it was just, I went through a long period where I wasn't even taking anything in. I had to survive on supplements. In fact, at some point, they admitted me into the hospital because I was throwing up so much that there was nothing left in my system. And even when there's nothing left in your system, my body was still trying to throw up. So I remember losing about 10 kgs in a 15-day span. And they actually had to admit me and feed me through my veins. Um, so chemotherapy, yes, there was pain. It was difficult. There are times when I was also just very weak, but at least I had my family around me. Actually, without the support of my family, I wouldn't be where I am today. After radiotherapy, I went into chemotherapy, and the side effects were pretty similar. Um, and I did chemotherapy. For me, I was admitted on Monday. They give me the drugs through my veins Monday to Thursday. And then they release me to go home and rest. Because the drugs are so toxic that if they keep giving them to you, they can poison your body. So I would have to take a 3-week break for my body to recover from the chemotherapy. And then before I do the next set of chemotherapy, I had to do tests to see whether my body was strong. So I did 5 rounds of chemotherapy. I was scheduled to do 6 rounds. And then after that,